Hello and welcome to the chart of the week. This week we'll look at the relationship between employment and apartment vacancies, as you can see here. As you can see historically, there's a nice correlation between apartment vacancies and the unemployment rate. In this chart for the state of Colorado, the bars are the vacancy rates and the lines the unemployment rate. Both move up following the 2001-2002 recessionary period and then both slowly fall during the recovery. Then you can see that around the third quarter of 2008, both vacancies and unemployment begin to rise, but that relationship quickly changes around the second quarter of 2009 when unemployment stays high but vacancies begin to fall. And as you can see, the trend today continues to be downward in spite of the fact that unemployment continues to hover around 8%. So there are two questions we need to ask ourselves. First, why did this close relationship between unemployment and vacancies once exist? And secondly, why did that relationship come to an end around 2008? First, it makes sense intuitively that a market with strong job growth should have a strong demand for apartments, as you can see here in this chart for the Metro Denver area, which basically follows exactly the same trend as the statewide chart. As there is job growth and wage growth, workers become more interested in finding a new apartment, shedding roommates, moving out of mom's basement, and so on, and we saw this both in Denver and in the state from 2003 to 2007. This leads to new household formation and a need for more housing. So the question then remains as to why this relationship ended in 2008. There are at least three reasons for this. First, population continues to increase in spite of sluggish job growth. In Colorado, you can see that since the last recession, there have been households formed in the area of about 20,000 to 35,000 per year. We have yet to see evidence that workers are leaving the state in any significant numbers at this time, largely because unemployment in Colorado is pretty good compared to most other states. So population growth, household formations, likely to be somewhere in the same range. Secondly, multifamily housing construction has been much less recently than was the case during the early part of this decade. As you can see here, housing permits issued year to date are down considerably. Looking at household formation, multifamily was certainly doing its part to house a good portion of that 20,000 to 30,000 or so new households each year earlier this decade. However, with permits now off more than 70% since their peak, that is no longer the case. Such a significant decline in new production is bound to lead to a situation with tighter vacancy rates. Third, purchase housing is relatively less attractive than it used to be. One thing that kept upward pressure on vacancies for much of this decade was the ease with which one could attain for-sale housing. During the middle of this decade, many property managers reported that they were often losing their best renters to home ownership. Younger and younger people were moving into purchase housing, and as the home ownership rate moved up, the demand for apartments moved down. In the present economy, with current credit standards, down payment requirements, and the realization that buying a home does not come without some risk, people are staying in rental housing longer. And in some ways, rental housing is what economists call a negative good. It is the sort of thing you buy more of as your income goes down. Think ramen soup, mac and cheese, and natural light beer. Now, we should note that some submarkets have behaved a little differently than what we've seen here. Colorado Springs and Grand Junction, for example, have some different dynamics going on, and we'll cover that in a future video.